review! Ow, fuck!
What's up guys, it's your boy Sweet Lou and thanks for stopping by. Today we're talking about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, or BMPCC if you're into acronyms. The Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera came out in 2013, and with the new 4K version on the horizon, I bet some of you are asking yourselves, is the original Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera worth buying in 2018? Well, let's find out. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be calling it the Pocket Cinema because I'm going to lose my fucking mind in this review if I keep having to say all those words. But anyway, the Pocket Cinema is a unique camera. It boasts 4 major things that most DSLRs and mirrorless cameras don't have. 13 stops of dynamic range, flat cinema picture profiles, raw DNG recording, and even ProRes recording. If you don't know what dynamic range is, it's just a fancy way of saying how well the camera handles the brightest part of the frame to the darkest. The better that range is, the more flexibility you'll have with your exposure. For example, you'll be able to retain highlight details without masking the rest of your frame in shadow. Getting back to the camera, you can actually pick up a used one for around $500 these days, and for that price point, those are some pretty damn spicy options. We're gonna start out with the most important stuff here, the image quality. Straight out of the gate, the image quality is amazing on this camera. I really love the look, and the flat picture profiles really enable you to do whatever you want to the footage in post. Within reason, of course. The flat ProRes footage grades really easily, and it looks really nice. Just remember, now that we're talking ProRes, we also have to talk about the fact that your cards are going to be filling up much faster. 1080p ProRes HQ at 2398 will run you a little over a gig per minute. Those are some beefy files. On the topic of SD cards, by the way, the write speed of your SD card is pretty important to this camera. I recommend using the higher speed cards like this 64 gig SanDisk right here. It has a 95 megabits per second write speed, so therefore it's going to keep up with the size of the files, and this is not sponsored. So what do I bring this SD card business up? Well, it definitely doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I shot an entire memory card with a lower write speed and got completely unusable choppy footage. Whoops. While it is my fault, I should have read the manual or Googled it or something. It really does annoy me that there wasn't any kind of warning. Like on the Sony cameras, if you want to use their higher quality codecs, it requires you to have the right SD card. It won't even let you select it if you don't have the card in there. Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera? Fuck it, I'll just record jittery shit at 10 frames per second. You know, that's perfect. The raw footage is really cool. It saves everything in a folder on your memory card as DNG files, and then you can grade them from there. I'm sure it's really simple to run through this on DaVinci Resolve. Unfortunately, I don't have that set up on my computer, and I'm not the most familiar with the program, so we're sticking with Lightroom as per usual on this channel. So I'll just grade the first image to my liking and then sync the settings of all the other photos. Then I export them numbered, and then finally import them as a sequence in Premiere. Pretty simple workflow, and I gotta say, the results are just beautiful. Anyway, moving on. In order to test the dynamic range of this camera and push it to the limit, here's some underexposed ass footage from this dope hibachi spot in the Bronx. Kudos if you can tell me where it is just from the table here. So we can see that the table and everything is underexposed until the fire comes into the frame. And if we just apply a little bit of Lumetri color tweaking, and boom, it's very usable. And honestly, it's amazing to see that not only are we able to push the image this far, we also still manage not to blow out the fire or the windows in the background here. And you may have noticed something else about that clip, something fucking bad. And no, I'm not talking about those mushrooms, but ugh, I fucking hate mushrooms. Whoa! I'm talking about the audio. Wow, listen to that. Ugh, it sounds like a Generation 1 GoPro on fire recording diarrhea falling off the Empire State Building. I would say that's a little bit of hyperbole, but it isn't. This audio is unusable. Get used to it and get yourself an external mic for the camera's oh wait, there's no shoe. Okay, get yourself a rig and an adapter and then put the audio on there. What? That defeats the purpose of the camera being small by making it bigger and adding all that shit onto it? Oh, well, okay, I hope you like your audio sounding like this. I guess you could just get yourself a 1/4-20 to cold shoe adapter and just put a Rode mic or something on top of it. You could do it. I mean, you have 2 of these 1/4-20 mounts. Not really sure what else you would do with the one on the top here. Maybe a monitor. Oh, wait a second. Perfection. Alright, I'm gonna calm down about the audio and everything. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but man oh man, if you're making a short film or even just a YouTube video like this, I'm sorry, that quality or the compression, whatever the problem is, it's unacceptable. We have all these amazing video codec selection options, but nothing at all for audio. You couldn't have given us an option to change the compression rate or just put a slightly better mic on board? And on the topic of settings within the camera, another area that seems to be lacking a little bit is the frame rate department. Your choices are 2398, 24, 25, 2997, or 30. There's no higher frame rate option, so no slow motion stuff. That's a huge bummer for me. There is an included time-lapse mode though, which is pretty damn cool. One more thing to talk about is the Micro Four Thirds CMOS sensor. It's not really a beast in low light by any regard, but it's also not unusable either. If you're planning on adapting all of your awesome Canon lenses onto the camera while the flange distance is totally fine for that, the 1.7 times crop factor is kinda nuts. That effectively makes a 24 into like a 40-ish and a 50 into an 85. Things to consider with Lou. But overall, I love the footage and I love all the things you can do with the footage. It's a pretty remarkable little camera, I'll admit it. But now we have to talk about ergonomics and aesthetics. While this camera is small and lightweight, it's certainly a handful. Let me explain. The camera feels good in the hand. The grip is, well, it's grippy. It's nice, but the size does remind me a ton of my Sony. Chronic, I don't know where to put my pinky disorder, but the camera itself feels sturdy. Lots of metal in its construction and the weird rubber grippy material, so it does make it pretty easy to hold. The buttons are clicky, there's not really too many of them, and there's no real complaints. I do prefer my Canon 6D buttons just because they feel a little better and more responsive to me, but that's just personal preference. Do you like customizing your buttons and creating shortcuts though? Good, because you can't do that on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Which is great because if you want to adjust your ISO, you only have to hit menu, right, okay, right, down, 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 and then left or right to actually adjust the setting. Feels like I'm playing Grand Theft Auto on this shit. But back to the menu, this does look like a touchscreen, doesn't it? It's not. And that sucks. A touchscreen would have made this menu so much more intuitive and user-friendly, but no, it's just this D-pad here. The record button, it's kind of weirdly placed as well. It's not Sony A7S weird, but it's still a little like, I mean, shouldn't it be here? Like my finger naturally rests here, shouldn't it be here? Onto the I/O on the side of the camera you have inputs for a remote, headphones, a microphone, an HDMI cable, and the charger, which by the way, you can leave plugged in while you operate the camera. Which is awesome because the battery life on this camera sucks! When you're recording with the heavier codecs, the battery life drops like friggin' Yamcha after he tried to fight that Cyberman.
Hi. Yamcha's here! Yamcha's dead!
Was that too specific?
The battery life is so bad, it dies really quickly, and therefore is very inconvenient. Am I right?
Seriously though, do bring extra batteries, cause man, they die. I thought Sony was bad. They do charge pretty quickly too, but damn it, they die just as fast. And while we're talking about the batteries, it's also important to note that the camera gets really hot after you've used it for a little bit. I'm talking like 10 minutes, the camera gets hot to the touch. Oh, and one more annoying thing. You can charge the batteries through the camera, but unless the camera's turned on, there's no indication of the charging progress, right? Am I crazy? Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments below, but it's just a black screen. So you gotta turn it on to know if it's charged. The screen is not the best outside in the bright sunlight. It gets washed out really, really easily. And unfortunately, there's no viewfinder or EVF on this camera, so you're kinda left with shielding your eyes and hoping for the best. Alright, I'm being really negative here. Focus peaking works like a charm. It's bright, it's very effective, and same goes for Zebra. I like both of those meters a whole lot. In terms of the look of the camera, it's cool, I like it, it's fine. I don't look at it and say, fuck that, it's cool looking. But, you know, it's minimalistic, it's cool, it's good. In terms of ease of use, it's a bit of a learning curve. It's a little different than what I'm used to. It's not hard, it's just different. It requires more consideration before you start shooting, and it definitely needs plenty of thought during post-production as well. But if you get used to it, this is a fine little camera for sure. So what do I think? Is it worth picking up in 2018? Well, I think it really depends on your needs. I'll say this, for me, I think it's a hard pass. Here's the thing. I can't talk shit about the quality of the footage. It's superb, especially for its size and the price range. But I really know what I need out of a camera. And right now for me, with the grind of making weekly YouTube videos, I need a camera that can do the higher frame rates. I need a camera with reliable tracking autofocus and an articulating screen. I need a camera that in a pinch has usable internal audio. Ultimately, I need a utilitarian camera that's not gonna get in my way and that's gonna be a tool, especially considering the fact that I make most of these videos by myself. It needs to work within my speedy and honestly somewhat demanding workflow. And unfortunately, the Pocket Cinema just doesn't fit that description for me. You have to ask yourself, are you cool with the limited frame rate options? Are you good with no 4K, especially with that 4K version coming out this year? And are you good with no flippy screen? I feel like this camera is perfect for someone who's starting out, someone who just loves the process and has no problem being the one behind the camera the entire time. I mean, hell, would I use this on a short film? Hell yeah, for sure. I don't act. I have no doubt that you can cop this camera on the cheap, especially on Craigslist or something like that, and you can definitely get out there and shoot some extreme bangers. Once you get over the clunky menu stuff and the battery life, in the right scenario, this thing can be a real beast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You know what to do. Smash subscribe, share the video, like, comment, blah 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 blah. If you have the camera, tell me your thoughts on it. Have you shot stuff? Let me know. I'd love to see it. And I'm not just saying this, you know, I like you guys. I like checking out your work too. So, you know, send it my way. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. And by the way, the move's done this weekend, so I know I said this video wasn't gonna be as intensive, but it is. But hey, the move's cool. Here's some footage. Alright, bye guys. Flat cinema. For example, you'll be able to retain. We're gonna start talking with certain stuff here. The image quality. Fuck! See, it has a 95 megabits per second write speed, so, you know, it's... Get used to it and get used to using an external mic for... What? That defeats the point after... Oh, another plane? Cool. Just let me work!